Please help me welcome Dave New.
All right, so 1 decade ago, when my daughter was 2 years old, I was laying in bed, and I woke up, and I grabbed my phone, and I go, and my wife's like, what's going on? Like, something going wrong with our daughter? I said, no, but we might be getting hacked because I was checking our leads every morning because that was the gate to if we're going to generate revenue. And every time I pressed refresh, it was going like, I thought I was in a casino in Vegas playing the slots. Our leads were just exploding. And then I thought, wait a second, what is going on? And then I said, well, a couple weeks ago I had an interview with the BBC. Did that actually go live? So I go to the website and I check, and indeed, it was the BBC. So the impact to the business, it drove hundreds of leads. People were buying Tiny Pulse without trying it, even though we had a 21-day free trial. And so on top of that, at that moment, we were also going through a VC funding. And I don't know if there's any VCs in the room, but I apologize if there are. But you know, they're kind of like follow the money, kind of. Basically, it drove extra millions of dollars to our valuation because at that time we were having a bake-off with a lot of these VCs. So that was a pivotal moment, and it was a big aha moment when it came to PR for myself. So, but it wasn't always the case, and I want to share with you my journey and how PR, I didn't like it at first, to really coming around to it. So first of all, my first startup, this is when I joined EO, for those in the audience. I had a good business partner. His name is Andy Liu, as some of you folks know, amazing guy. We raised about $1 million, commercialized some professor's research, and it was hell. Right? This was like 1999, and then like the nuclear winter came, and like we were getting our MBA, and that was like management by accident was like, you know, what part of the acronym was. And it was so tough, but we were able to turn it around, and then eventually we sold that to Aquana, which got sold to Microsoft. And at that time, we were just trying to survive, so we did nothing with PR. So I had no exposure with PR. They didn't teach in the MBA program, so I was like, okay, well, whatever. So then my second startup, I ran it back with Andy, and that was called Buddy TV. So we were a little bit wiser, so we raised about $10 million. And it was a two-sided marketplace where we were trying to get a lot of eyeballs and then commercialize those eyeballs. So at one time, we got up to about 30 million eyeballs. And we thought, wait a second, if we want to get more reach, there's not a better tool than PR, right? So then we're like, okay, we call for friends, and we're like, we're in Seattle, so then Microsoft uses WagEd, and I apologize if anyone works there. So we do a bake-off, we use WagEd, and we're like, these people are going to be awesome, and it's going to change the trajectory of the company. And we hire them, and then we end up firing them. We're like, oh, that was a dud. So then Edelman, another big PR company, so we try that out. Hire them, and we fire them, and it's not working. And I said, wait a second, Andy. I know what we're doing wrong. We're a small startup, and these are big companies that service like Microsoft and these big organizations. We need a boutique agency. That's what we need to do. So then we had to bake off a boutique agency. We hired one, and then ended up firing that boutique agency too. So my first experience with PR was just not very positive. So I thought there would be other acquisition channels that would be easier for at least me to learn, such as SEO, SEM, and so forth. So I kind of put PR into the back shelf. However, then I talked a little bit about Tiny Pulse when I had the aha moment. So this one I was a solo founder, raised $10 million, grew it to about 10 million ARR, and then ended up selling it to a company called Limeade. And PR was very, very instrumental in how I grew the business and brand and recognition. And then today is, so today I'm doing Delight Labs. And so what was the difference between Buddy TV, where I failed at PR, to then Tiny Pulse, that was so instrumental in the growth? Does anyone know who this person is? Yeah, some people do, right? So I went to a conference like this. It was a EO University, I believe in Montreal or Chicago. So this gentleman, his name is Cameron Herold, and he was COO, one of the co-founders of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, right? So he's on stage, and he asked, does anyone know 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And so all the hands go up. And for those who don't know, they basically come and remove the junk from your house. And then he's like, here's my secret. We spend zero on marketing. Everyone's like, how's that possible? Like, everyone knows your brand and you spend zero on marketing? He goes, we dump all that money into PR. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this person's cracked the code, because I struggled with hiring all these big-time PR agencies, and we weren't able to do it. And then he goes on to explain that for PR, it's really about treating it as a sales function. And that kind of blew my mind. I'm like, PR as sales? That's just incredible. And then I remember at the end of the speech, he's taking Q&A, and someone in the audience goes, hey, Cameron, I got a question. He goes, you have a sexy business, Cam, so that you can do this, but I've got a unsexy business. How can I get PR? And he gets really red. He's like, fuck you. We deal with junk, trash. What's sexier than that, right? And so it was this unbelievable moment, and he wrote a book about it called Double Double, and I've given this to a bunch of people, and this book has a lot about business leadership, and a portion of that is around PR. And he tells a story that he knows what his ICP is, his ideal client profile, and personas, and where do they live, and they tend to be, these decision makers tend to be the spouse, the women in the household. So their goal was to get on Oprah. And Oprah, for you folks who don't know, is this daytime talk show, one of the most well-liked, well-respected, influential people in the U.S., right? And so they had their top 20 list, just like you folks may have your top 20 list for your clientele that you want from your prospects, and Oprah was number one, right? So they treated it as a sales function, and they were pounding that door, and then boom, they got on Oprah. And it really also spiked their business. So I got so inspired by Cam is that I approached him afterwards, and I said, look, I want some of what you got. And then I told him what I was doing with Tiny Pulse, and he ended up agreeing to invest and become an advisor in Tiny Pulse. And then so we started going down that road. So BBC was one of the first, but near the end at Tiny Pulse, the last year before we sold, we got over 150 PR hits, right? And so when I think about PR, I don't want, like sales, anyone who's a sales leader or CEO, president, you don't want unpredictability. You want predictability, right? So for me, I wanted predictability and then treating it as sales. So we got, congratulations, Dave, for getting on CNN. But, for us, it was getting on Bloomberg. That was cool. And then, everything that comes with it. And then once we get those PR hits, we leverage it through our GTM system, our go-to-market, so that we're able to ripple all the benefits throughout. And for example, Bree is one of our sales reps, and this person said, hey, earlier I attended the webinar hosted by Dr. Laura Boyle and David New. Wow, what an incredible program. It was a perfect balance of conversation analysis. Immediately after the meeting, I signed up to attend several more Tiny Pulse webinars. And then she ended up buying, right? So that's how we built that brand to differentiate that from our competition. And when done right, there's a lot of benefits that come from PR, right? First, you can drive direct acquisition. BBC, someone sees it, they go to your website, they buy. Drives indirect acquisition, because we always want to be top of mind with our prospects so that when they're thinking about buying, when the timing's right, you want to be top of mind and you want to be in that small segment. The content becomes nurture content. Your marketing reps are looking for nurture content, or let's say you use some sales automation to ping out to your prospects. They all need stuff. So if I was Doxa, I'd send something out about CNN. Oh, I'm sure you saw this. They didn't. But now when they see it, they'll say, wow, that's incredible. They were on CNN, and you get that brand halo. Then, of course, you have this evergreen content that's going to be on the site, that's going to be marinating for SEO, because you've got this incredible backlink from a really highly respected source with high domain authority, which is going to be CNN. And then, yeah, and I think that's going to, to Nicole's point, that's only going to be more important moving forward. As the cost of content becomes zero, basically, or almost zero, there's going to be a flood of content out there, and for search engines like Google and Bing, they need signals to understand, well, which one should I put first, because there's so much content. And they're kind of lazy too, so they're looking for these signals. Well, who still pays people to vet data? New York Times, Wall Street Journal, BBC, these news organizations still do that. So, that's a reason why I think that will become more important moving forward. And then also establishing more expertise, right? And so now that Dave nailed that interview with CNN, if she needs more data or coverage or questions, who's she going to call? He's going to be on the short list. And you're able to build these relationships over and over again. And one of my greatest compliments was, I tried to get on New York Times, and we finally did. I was like cyber stalking this reporter to finally get a piece. And then when I was leaving, she emails me out of the blue, and she said, hey, can you comment on this piece? I'm like, oh my gosh, I've arrived, right? Like, I built this relationship. I said what I was going to do. I always try to be helpful. So then once you get that going, that moat, if your competitors aren't investing in it, becomes wider and deeper over time because you're establishing that credibility. And then, of course, when you think about exiting or acquisitions, you buying other people buying you, employees, by having your brand out there, it's also a huge boon. Every one of the companies that got acquired that I founded was I knew the CEO in some capacity, and of course, PR just helps substantiate and builds our brand halo. So I'll talk about that acquisition, and so we sold to a company called Limeade, which is a publicly traded company, which was even older than us, and age does matter when you think about domain authority. So this is just looking at a SEO snapshot. Here's Tiny Pulse, us, and here was this publicly traded company, right? So our domain authority is higher, our referring domain is higher, and then our backlinks almost 3x higher. So we were able to crush them on those aspects. And then I asked them, they asked us when they acquired, like, hey, who runs your PR? Do you have a team? How much are you paying them, right? I said, we do, right? And so they couldn't believe it because they just had an internal resource dedicated to managing their PR team, and they were spending tens of thousands of dollars a month on PR. So I think even today, our investment in PR still outclasses them, even though Limeade got acquired by WebMD. If you still look at some of the legacy searches, you'll still see that dominance. That position is hard to assail once you're able to create it. And then lastly, I believe this is also a hidden opportunity. I don't know how many of you folks have got an MBA. I'm sorry if you did, just like I did. But one of the good things about it is they teach you all these disciplines, but they don't really teach you about PR, right? And I know, do you remember when Farmville first came out on Facebook and it kind of blew up? Well, how did they do that? Well, Facebook had a great audience and they started to monetize. And so the monetization was very low. So these people were able to get an edge on their competition because they jumped into that marketing tactic first. But what happens over time with all marketing tactics? Your competitors come and that edge you have gets shaved off, and then you have to consistently look for different other wells to drill and hope that it bears oil. But I believe that PR is different. PR is different because you're able to build these relationships over time, and then that moat actually gets wider and deeper as you keep adding to it. So I believe that if you lean into it, it's really actually hard for the competitors to come and try to take that leverage away from you. So where do you start? So we talked about Cameron's approach, and we've improved on it a lot since that's really old. So we'll use the sales analogy. First, you want to look at, you want to identify who's your ICP, so you should know who your buyer is, your ideal customer profile. And then two, what outlets where do they live? Where do they get information? And then three, you go to those outlets that you care about, and you do your homework. You do your homework and you find the right reporters that you care about to start building those relationships. Just like sales, you wouldn't just shotgun. And if you were trying to sell to Oracle, you wouldn't just shotgun like everyone at Oracle. You would find the right persona that's going to buy your product. Where does he or she live? And then start prospecting against that. So you identify the right person. You draft your pitch. And we're going to go through an exercise about how can you capture the reporter's attention, because they usually get over 100 pitches a day. Then you want to track the pipeline, right? So we always look at, outreaches, how many emails did we send, or social our phone calls, the open rates, then we look at do they click through it, and do they engage, and then finally did it publish. And I'll show you a real life pipeline for one of our clients. And then of course, you always want to report and refine. Just like sales, sometimes it takes a long time to get your tier 1 clients. But you don't just give up just because you don't get it, but you debrief and you say, well, what worked well? What didn't work well? Okay, well, let's just try that differently. So like for one of our clients, one of the things that works well is when we have data and then we pair it with a human interest story, and that seems to get a lot of tractions and resonate with reporters. Oh, so then this is definitely something that Cam didn't talk about, which is innovating to own a term. So the currency for PR is data, okay? Data is a currency for PR. Now, what do I mean by that? Absent of data, it's an opinion. And unless you're like President Biden or Elon Musk, no one cares about your opinion, right? It's just an opinion. But when you have data, that's something different. So during COVID, at Tiny Pulse, we were thinking like, oh, what type of data do we have so that we can use and then give to reporters? And it was right about, should you return to work, right? And so then we started surveying people. Oh, are you going to have your people return to the office? And if so, how many days a week? And then we cross-tab it by industry, by size. And then we share that with reporters, and we got a ton of coverage. And then we debrief, and we say, well, how can we do better? And at that time, you hear about like the glass ceiling, the bamboo ceiling, and all these ceilings. We're like, what about the Zoom ceiling? So we said, so we did our research that, hey, there was a lot of concern that if you didn't go in the office and you didn't get FaceTime with the boss, you would hit this Zoom ceiling. So we did more research, and we also surveyed employees, and then we also surveyed the managers or employers. And of course, if you're in reporting or you're a reporter, you care about extreme, right? If it's average, not really newsworthy. So we did all the questions, and then we looked at, well, which ones are the most extreme, and then we pitched it to reporters. And so if you Google the Zoom ceiling, you'll still see us dominating that page, even though they haven't done anything with it, because of the fact that they haven't kept up with it. So if they had actually kept up with it, they would even have a stronger position in that area. So if you're able to get like, you think about, we'll use Doxa since everyone knows Doxa, like, hey, this remote work, hey, this is gonna be the future. Is there a data that we can do on a quarterly, semi-annual, annual basis so that even if our competitors talk about it, the reporters will cite them just because they are such an authority when it comes to that topic. So I'm going to go about top 10 tips if you're thinking about investing in PR, either in-house or with the firm. So first one is size matters, and I think that if you do it too early and you get a lot of press, but your site's not optimized, that kind of just leaks away, and you may never get that again. So about 26% of companies, by the time they reach $1 million in revenue, have tried PR, and that goes to 46% when it goes to 5 million. So people are dabbling with it. It depends on the success level, but generally I say if you don't have product market fit, it's probably too early to start, but once you have that, it makes sense to start leaning into it earlier rather than later. Second is, once you get that PR, you gotta run it through your TTM engine, right? Your marketer, your sales, everyone's gotta be using that to share with the folks. Like for example, I shared a screenshot where our sales rep had someone said, hey, I attended a webinar. It was great. So we extended it that way. And I know it worked because our sales reps would ask me a quarter later, hey, David, are we doing those webinars again? Because that's how valuable those leads were. And at the end of every webinar, I asked, would you like sales to contact you? I didn't say something fluffy, do you want to join our email newsletter? Because I wanted to respect our sales reps' time. And 25 to 35% of people did that. So the corollary, I don't know what it would be for someone like Doxa, but if you had 500 people and in a webinar and 20 said yes, boom, there are some great leads for your sales reps to go after. So talked about treating PR sales, looking at the end goal in your top 20 accounts that you want to go to and really working against that and having the metrics. So, and then I also really am big about hiring people with a sales mentality. So one of my PR reps who I worked with at Tiny Pulse, so we're interviewing, and I'm like, oh, well, So I want him to sell me something. I want to see how good he is. So I said, well, what are you passionate about? He's like, pugs. I'm like, oh, okay. So you just got a pug, So I'm like, okay, well, how about this? I'm the CEO of Pugs Online, the biggest pugs magazine in the world, and you want to get your clients on Pugs Online. So why don't you take a minute, write down some notes, and then call me. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm just going to go ring, ring, and I'm going to answer my phone, and you're going to pitch me. So he's like, oh, okay. So he gets his notes, and he's like, ring, ring. I'm like, hi, this is David of Pugs Online. And then he goes into his spiel, right? And then I'm like, okay, thank you, boss. Can I give you some feedback? He said, yes. I'm like, okay, the way you opened it, I'd prefer if you open it with a question because you might be interrupting a reporter. Why don't you try that and let's do it again. I said, okay. Ring, ring. And then he does that, and he keeps going on his spiel, and I said, okay, boss, that was great. Can I give you some more feedback? He said, yes. And I gave him some more feedback about front-loading the benefits of what he's going to try to sell me. And then I ended up hiring him, and he was fantastic because I think if I can do that type of training in 5 minutes, what can I do with 5 hours, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, right? And so that's how I think about having that sales mentality through the team and the process is they want to go out and talk with reporters and get basically the hunt and get that earned media for themselves and the client. Transparency. When I jumped into this PR industry, I didn't know, but there are some agencies that don't even share the pitch. I'm like, that's crazy. You're like paying them, and they're not even sharing the pitch. But more importantly, you don't get that feedback loop to get better. So that's one question I would ask them is like, hey, how transparent, or you'll probably know throughout the process how transparent they are. And then a partnership. The biggest deals that we care about take the longest amount of time, right? You don't just get leads overnight, right? Like you would never hire an enterprise software sales rep, and let's just say they're selling, I don't know, like some database for MongoDB to the government, and say, okay, go close that in 6 months. No way. It might take 6 years, right? But it's like milestones in progress to get there. So, and partnering with them to get on the phone on a weekly basis, debrief, and understand what's working and what's not. 7, you got to be disciplined, right? Like sales, you got to do your activities, right? I tell my reps, do 8 activities a day, and I'll set you free. You do 8 a day, you do 40 a week, you do 160 a month, and then we're going to have some baseline to see is this working or not. Long-term investment. Yeah, it just takes time. And you never know with PR because you're dealing with human beings in the news cycle. Like, there are hits that I think are going to be great. That kind of go good. And then there are the hits I'm like, what just happened? Or our client will call us like, we just saw a traffic spike. I'm like, oh, I thought that was a dead lead and it came back. So you just never know. So keep pounding against that. As long as you're doing it and your competitors aren't, you're going to be in a much better position. And then I also see this rise of these like social micro-influencers, right? And everyone wants the big influencers, the Oprahs, the Mr. Beast, or whatnot. And I'm like, well, you can also think about PR and reaching out to those folks, but let's say they have an audience of 5,000, but all 5,000 are your ICP. Can you engage with them? So that's what we've been doing with one of our clients on a MedTech device, is engaging with the relevant audience. And then lastly, yeah, I just think it's just a huge hidden opportunity. These people just don't talk about that much. And I like that, right? Because I think it's an advantage for us and our clients moving forward. So here's an example of one of our clients, and this is actual pipeline that we have for reporting. And for this pitch, they were going to be in Las Vegas. So they do surrogacy. And so it's like if you have infertility challenges and you want some other person to carry your child. And that's not legal in many countries, and certain states have different legislation, but Nevada is actually very open-minded about that, so they want to make these partnerships. So we reached out to 20 people because we were going to partner with the IVF fertility clinic that was going to be out there and try to get publicity against that. So talking to the local reporters, you could see all the TV stations and so forth that they were contacting. And as a result, boom, they were able to get this amazing piece And this was actually one of their top 10, 20 outlets that they wanted to get in because of the fact that in Nevada, it's very open-minded for people who are having fertility challenges. And not only was it this amazing article, it was actually front page, right? And so that, the client was super excited, and of course, we then use that footage to pitch other articles thereafter, just like how I said, once you get that hit, you want it to ripple through your GTM ecosystem so that you're able to squeeze as much value out of that as possible. So, usually, now I'm going to do something live here, and so we're going to do an exercise together, and I thank the AV people for helping me out on this. So, I talk about, so this is kind of journalism 101 if you go to like journalism school. And, sorry. So this is, these are kind of the elements of newsworthiness that people, and I'll go through it, and then I'm going to ask the audience to give me input. I'm going to scribe some notes. And since the only company where all kind of the thread line here is Doxa, we're going to use Doxa as an example, right? So if Dave ever says like, oh, we don't have anything newsworthy, boom, we're going to be able to point to this. And I also believe by teaching that and everyone participating, you can go back and look at your own company and see, hey, what do I think? And I would really also encourage the VIPs, if there's some in the room, to also participate and share their insights. So let me just talk about, okay, so prominence means like, hey, it's like, think about it like a celebrity. You have a celebrity using Doxa or outsourcing or some things, a company that's famous, broadly. And it can go in many buckets. Impact. It is what it means, like impact. Well, what's the impact of this news story to the local community, to people? Think about that way. Timeliness, right? News doesn't wait for anyone. So if it happened today, or it's upcoming, we want it to be timely. So if you said something happened 6 months ago, we wouldn't put it in this bucket. We might pitch it. It might be in different buckets, but it wouldn't be in the timeliness bucket. This one, conflict. Now, conflict you have to be careful about, right? They say all press is good press. I don't know. Sometimes it might not all be good press. That's a catch-all bucket for exotic, right? It could be. I think Edward was talking about, hey, this is a day in the life of your VIPs who are commuting. But well, what's the carbon footprint of that, and how much do we save by them working from home? So that might fall into this bucket, or it could maybe fall into impact. And then the last one is surroundings, local. Basically, your surroundings is local, right? Local outlets care about local news. So with that, I'm going to open it up, and I know that I would love people to let me know what they think about in any of these buckets that you think that we could write about Doxa and we could scribe if we were doing a brainstorm to think about what we would pitch to more media, because just off the heels of the CNN piece.
Remote work.
Remote work. Which one do you want to put it in?
Human interest.
All right. Okay, hold on. Remote. Thank you. Next. Yes. High NPS score. Which one do you want to put it in? Yes. Okay. Great. Next. Yes?
The social impact, the social work that we did yesterday under impact, social activities.
Which one did you do? Oh, okay, social impact. Okay. Thank you. Great. Oh, trees planted. How many did we do? 600?
700.
Oh, my bad. 700. Hey, a bigger number is better for news anyway, so we'll go with 7. Don't ever let the facts get in the way of a good story, okay? All right. Chuck. Okay, changing time with family.
Increase family time.
Change, increase time with family. Great, next.
Borderless talent and surroundings.
Yes, okay. Borderless. Thank you. Next. Yes.
Tension between employers and employees wanting to get people back to office, conflict.
Oh, yeah. Return to office conflict. Love it.
AI training for timeliness.
Yes. AI training, big topic today in the news. Doxicon, where do you want to put that? Yes. That certainly helped.
CNN, exotic.
Yes. CNN, let's go.
Exotic CEO dunks.
CEO dunks. On who? Dunks. On competition.
Unrealistic.
Like I said, don't let facts get in the way of a good story. Yes. CEO dunks surroundings. Oh, yeah. All right, what else? Just getting started. Economic impact of the community. 100%. Yes? Growth statistics. Thank you.
Population growth trends under timeliness.
Oh, I love it. Population growth. Or shrinking, I guess, except for in Africa. What about any of the VIPs? Any thoughts of,
I think there's probably lots of human interest stories from the VIPs.
yes! Does anyone want to pipe up or share? VIPs. Paid time off for Doxa. Oh, yes, Dave.
There's something called the gray economy, which is business models, some being considered ethical, some not so.
I couldn't hear you, sorry.
I said under conflict, I think the gray economy.
The gray economy.
Yeah, there are different business models in this industry, some of which people question are ethical or not.
Oh, yes. Yes! Offshore USA jobs.
We fed thousands of families yesterday, and the social impact of that.
So the impact of visiting families?
Yeah, factors.
Okay, visiting, I'll put in both. Families.
And one of those communities is one of our VIPs, and it's changing the legacy of her family.
Oh, changing legacy. Oh my goodness, what a tagline.
Clientele global footprint.
Clientele global footprint.
Staying competitive in the global marketplace.
Which one do you want to put that in? Okay. Global competitiveness. What about any of the VIPs there? Have anything to share? I would love it if you did. You want impact or human interest? Okay, time save, love it. Yeah, it was 32 days, right? See, that's how important it was. I still remember that. Like, you know, you retain so little of information. That's crazy. What else? Okay, great starting point. So then we have all these potential ideas to pitch for media, and then you folks think about your own company. But now, whiteboard number 2. Usually I do this about once a month, or 2 or 3 months with my clients. So now we're going to talk about, hopefully you can get that. So another way, this is kind of like a global, and then this is going to be more focused on you and your business. So I call it brand, so the backstory, right? Like what happened? How'd you guys start together? Relevant days. you know, if there's almost like a day for everything in the world, like, oh, National Chew Gum Day, or National Bosses Day, or National Secretary Day, National VA Day. You know, there's actually things like that. And then how can you get in front of the media with data and facts so they want to interview you? Affected people, right? And some of this can overlap with these two. And then that's really about bringing out this human interest story. New trends, right? Like, you know, might be the WHO saying antimicrobial resistance is rising. And so the new trend that McKinsey just put out, there's a lot of great trends that we could put in there. And then lastly, it's just daily. You know, what's going on in the news today that we might be able to news jack, right? For one of our clients around surrogacy, the Pope came out and said, it's like deplorable. It's a global ban. And we're like, thank you, right? So we went and then my client's getting interviewed on Scripps News and all these other places because we were able to, you know, leverage that daily news. So let's go over here. And so one example is, how many co-founders did you have?
5.
So 5 co-founders, and then they're mainly EO, so it's like from service to startup, right? Okay. Other ideas and just shout them out, and you know, we'll put them in these buckets. Yeah. Excuse me? Oh, anti-PPO? Okay. Oh, I like that trend. Anti-PPO.
We talked about talent scarcity today. That's a
Exactly.
very relevant.
Yes. I think another trend is declining birth rates outside Africa. Okay. What else? Yes. Yes, work flexibility. Where do you want to put it? Here? Okay. Thank you. Work flex. Other, yes. There is. Bring kid to work. There actually is a VA or like a EA Secretary Day. So for, you know, the clients there. What about effective people? Aren't there a million stories, both for the CEO clients about how it changed their business? Like JP, you were saying like 9 out of 33, right? Well, that's crazy, right? 9 out of 33 in stocks up, right? Like, and then the impact on their lives, right? That's why I think, like, so for our client that's doing extremely well on getting press, not only do we have people talk about surrogacy in general, but we have some of the intended parents who struggled, almost lost their marriage, burned through a lot of money, but they always wanted the goal to have a child. And to hold that child and see the tears, right? Like, media likes that, right? And the flip side is, well, the Pope thinks one of the reasons why it's deplorable is because they are taking advantage of poor people. But in the US, our data says differently. Their education levels of 4-year college is higher than the average. Their income is higher, and you cannot be on government assistance to participate. So it's actually the opposite. So we actually lean into that story, and so that's an example of, you know, talking about conflict and you know, leaning into the daily news and affected people. Other examples. Yes. Yes. Promote outcome base. Okay. Yes. Ah, that's great. Because someone was telling me that one of the main differentiation, if the talent hasn't worked remotely at night in the Philippines, it's, you know, they fail. But there's also the ones that succeed, I'm sure there is a trade-off with their families. Anything else on this side? Okay, I think we have a great starting point about that. And then the last thing, we don't have to go into as much detail here, is, you know, what are we going to do in terms of, so we have, these are kind of the macro stories. We have some micro ones. There's a lot around, I think, the founders that, you know, at least for me as an entrepreneur, I love hearing the founder story, how it started, you know, from service to leadership. And then over here, when you deal with the press, you have to be ready. The news doesn't wait for anyone, right? So if something is going on, I will drive to my client's house or text them, right? Like the PR person should be on a phone basis with the CEO, and it's just super, super important. And so I call this Craig's, case studies, right? So case studies on like Doxa, how it's helped the lives of people, how it's also helped the CEOs. Obviously, you want to have your photos ready. You want to have your, it could be a podcast ready. It could be a video ready. So we all have that ready. So for example, when it comes to surrogacy, we have videos, we have snippets, and we said, hey, would you like to interview them? So we have that all packaged together, so we make the work of the reporter just much easier versus everyone else who may not have it all dialed in. And then expert interviews. Well, as you publish your book and you have data, you get more. Like we became the experts on return to office, the Zoom ceiling. Well, what do you want to be in your industry? Because once you plant that flag and you have data around that, you do that on a consistent basis, it's really hard for someone to usurp that position. And then lastly, social media, right? Is like, especially certain demos and generations, social is incredibly powerful to then say like, you know, can we have social proof? Can we amplify it on social? Or if there's a trend we care about that we want to package and share for a reporter, we'll even use data points from social media from our own people or from other people to validate that. Okay, so I've got 3 minutes, so I'm going to open it up to any questions that you have, and thank you for participating for this, and just know that you can do this for your own company and revisit this on a consistent basis to push these amazing ideas to get media and get press. Yes?
So much. My question is, how long is that original pitch? So not the one, because you said sometimes you use templates and then tier one, you'll make it bespoke. Mm-hmm. So that bespoke one, what's the optimal length? Oh,
shorter is much better. So we always go super short. So we try things like, hey, I read your piece last Thursday about this. I think your audience would be interested in this. Now we front load it as much as possible about that piece. Like, we think this would be great for your audience. Boom. Right? And then we might add more, but if we just, think about in terms of like their phone, are they going to be able to see it on the screen? Are they going to swipe to delete it? Or are they going to click on it? That's how many characters we have. And then also the email subject line is really important as well. And another thing is we use automated email follow-up. So 48 hours later, we try 48 and we try 24. We just hit them again. And you think you might be bothering them. The reporters are busy. 100+ emails a day, they usually thank us. Like, oh, if they don't want to follow up, they want to delete it anyways. But they want to follow up, they'll say, thank you for bringing it up to my attention, and then engage with us. So shorter is better. Excuse me?
For pitches? Do you still use Haro for pitches?
You know, we did a long time ago, but I feel like Haro is super noisy. And so there's another service called Quoted, which is a more kind of like LinkedIn type, a little bit more, Quoted, QWO. So I call it kind of the new Quoted. So it costs like $129 a month, and then it gives you opportunities. And then if you respond quickly, you have a greater opportunity to get into it. So one of our clients just got into U.S. News, and we'll report based upon that. But you just have to be monitoring that all the time. And I think we monitor it that much more actively than we do Haro. You bet. Yes, Boaz.
So the question is about human interest stories. So I recently was working with the Amazon PR team, and they said that they wanted to talk about their chips, but they found that a conversation about the founders who designed the chips, who hadn't seen each other in 10 years and went to a bar in Seattle, got way more than anything that was related to the technology around their chips. So when you think about human interest, How do you frame those kinds of things?
Yeah, so first, I want to see if they're going to cover it, a reporter's going to cover it, and then 2, are we going to get engagement? And 3, like, people could cover it, but if that's not where my ICP lives, I don't really care, right? Like, I get some other website that talks about, like, I Can't Ask Cheeseburger about cats, and I'm like, well, that's great, we got a bunch of hits, but it's not the hits I want. So those are probably the levers I would think about balancing it, or trying to, like, can I curve it in so that it actually, you know, goes back to the sales and why I'm doing PR in the first place. Any questions? Yes, Dave.
How do you, when you don't get that hit the first time, how do you build a relationship with the reporter that allows you to be sort of that, someone they want to reach out to proactively?
Yeah, good. Okay. So I was trying to get, the AP News is a big outlet in the US, because once you get that, you get syndicated in all these local markets. So I had all my data, and this reporter in Michigan says he was going to cover it. And so then I'm refresh, and then boom, the report came out, or the piece, and we weren't in it. I'm like, what the heck? You know, I was like talking, so followed up. I said, oh, you know, what happened? Oh, the editor, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, what are you writing next that's related to this that you care about, right? So I'm trying to put myself in his shoes. He's like, well, I think there's a trend around X. So I'm like, oh, well, what question would you like to know about X? Why? So then we put that question, why, verbatim into our survey. And once I had the results, I'm like, hey, and I replied to that email, by the way, here you go on a silver platter, and then we got into AP News. So yes, it's about building that relationship. Like we even think about, I think Nicole talked about the team having days to learn. We have like days to just engage with reporters and not pitch. That's like, oh, I really like that, or I like this, and you know, just thinking about them as humans because they're slammed all the time. But at the end of the day, we are doing them a favor. If we bring great news to them, we are helping them do their job better. So that's the mentality and that I like, you know, most people think about versus, excuse me, you know, I'm bothering Mr. or Mrs. Reporter. And with that, I hope that you also get your moment in bed with your significant other, or if you're living alone by yourself with your pet. Thank you.